Guys, I think I have some bad advice to start the video. I think you do need the pictures because I skip around so much and jump around. But if you're just listening to this, you can follow along, but it's better if you can see the pictures that I'm showing. Hey guys, it's Matt. If you're just listening to this, you don't need the pictures. If it's an important picture, I'll describe what it is or I'll mention the picture briefly. It just makes it more of a video. You don't need it if you want to just listen. It's called How the Reality Works in slideshow format. This is a picture of San Francisco circa 1912, just about 6 years after one of the biggest earthquakes of all time, and they say one of the biggest fires of all time. We've seen the death and destruction and everything burned out. And boy, it's pretty amazing how it got back on its feet so quickly. Just 6 years later, after the whole city is reduced to rubble, did everybody have Nationwide on their side, or how did they rebuild? I mean, how did it happen? And then the same names of the same minions pop up over and over again. John Rothschild and Company, it says, if you can't see that top left on that business. Maybe they took it over and rebuilt everything. I don't know, but there's so many reality anomalies, guys, that there's such a bozo show that's going on now. In terms of us figuring it out, it's not that hard, and it's not outside of our means to figure it out. It really isn't. So Jeff sent this to me today. He sent some funny emails. I laughed my ass off. Something he positioned it like the CV. This is the CV team of experts, Dr. F, and this is the group that America has placed its trust in to get to the bottom of what's going on. And somebody had sent this to me, but Matt is cut off on the right. So reality explained in a few slides? Matt, you crazy conspiracy son of a bitch. Yeah, I'm going to explain it in a few slides. It's not that I'm any genius. These bozos, the reality they present is such a joke that there's no other explanation for the most part for what is going on. If you realize that we're in a spiritual battle, something that most truth channels don't ever mention. It's just an analysis of the screen, an endless analysis of the screen. Well, what's all this for? What's all the lies and endless deception for? It's to basically, why do you think this term is so popular in our history? The devil will steal your soul. The devil, which represents this reality, will take pieces of you until it gets all of you. It's a spiritual battle you're in now. And what's at stake? Oh, I don't know, maybe the whole of your existence for all eternity. That's all. Just a little stake like that. F it. Let's go to the mall. Anyway, you got to remember it through all of this. It's a spiritual battle. Our job, at the very minimum here, is to hold on to our humanity, for lack of better words, and to hold on to spiritual ties and connections. Everything else is secondary to that. Okay? But that, or an understanding of that, can be strengthened if you understand how this bozo show works. So the first thing I think we need to do, and this is a general refresher for a lot of people, we have to stop thinking things are so real. Guys, I could stand at a podium for 24 hours with my Texas catheter and with no notes and just present one impossible reality anomaly after another. The eclipse itself has 5 impossible reality anomalies. Tiny little shadows where the body causing the shadow is 2,500 miles across. Well, Matt, Matt, if it's a 70 mile shadow, that just means the body is 70 miles across. Okay, fine. I'll give you that one. Move on to the next one. One body fits exactly on top of the other. The eclipse by itself proves we're in some sort of reality that ain't very real. The ancients knew that, or at least they attributed it to divinity, where a god could just come in and change things. And that's much more logical and reasonable that their gods could come in and just move one body in front of the other and create Rahu over Ketu or whatever, than what we believe today. And a scientist pops up and explains it as 2 bodies moving, and planetary bodies do this, and Voyager and V'ger does that. It's absurd, the stuff that they have us buying into. But the commonality in it is everything is completely real. They want you to believe everything here is completely real. They want you to place the maximum amount of stock and importance to your life. Anyway, we just do this forever. I'm going to do this for just a few minutes. The eclipse, by the projected images under trees. It's impossible. Impossible. It's a reality breakdown by itself. Well, Matt, don't you understand how a tree acts as a pinhole camera? Come on. Then we'd act like a pinhole camera all the time. And I'd see a bunch of little suns dancing around under trees all the time, a bunch of little balls dancing around. It's a projected image of the eclipse itself. It's not a shadow under trees during the eclipse. When a plane flew in front of the sun and it made a shadow through the trees, then I'd see a million little planes on the ground. It's just a freak anomaly of the eclipse itself. The reality breakdowns that we've cataloged now are endless. The ancient sites, there's commonalities with the ancient sites. They build pyramids all over the world. Nobody knows how they were built. Nobody can explain how they were built. There had to be some sort of technology that doesn't exist. None of these civilizations wrote their name or left a calling card. They could build all this incredible stuff, and this is one example of hundreds around the world that are simply you cannot explain. From this, the pyramids of Giza, Temple of the Sun and the Moon, Göbekli Tepe, whatever. Pick one. None of them can be explained. None of them can be built today. And certainly none of them, they said, could be built with the technology that existed or didn't exist back then. But the point is, none of them left a calling card saying, this was our civilization. Even in pictures, somebody could create this, make a stick figure. This was our civilization. Draw some rudimentary hieroglyphics to tell us about yourself. What happened? Where'd y'all go? They all disappeared without a trace. Nobody left their calling card. Nobody left any information about the civilization. This theme just repeats over and over again, and I'm supposed to believe everything is completely real? No, I don't any longer. I've seen too much. This place ain't that real. Let's do 1 or 2 minutes on the Mandela effect. I apologize to those who are triggered. But it's not possible that we have 20 of these photos. There's probably, if anybody really did research and looked and asked for photos from people, you could collect hundreds of people posing next to the thinker with the wrong pose. Just basic Mandela researchers can find a bunch of these. People posing next to the thinker, not doing the right pose. It's not possible. This is my favorite. I ordered the damn DVD. I didn't believe it. The guy, the bodybuilder's name at the top, his name, to me, it's always Franco Columbu. I mean, 100%. I followed this guy as ex-Mr. Olympia, used his lifting routines, whatever. So his name now is Columbu, Columbu. So I found this DVD where Schwarzenegger he had a cameo in Columbu's movie, mostly meant for, I think it was for the Italian market. Just had a cameo to help his friend. So they spelled his name wrong on the DVD, on the Blu-ray? I said, no way. So I ordered it. The damn thing arrived. It says Franco Columbu at the top. His name's not that, and it never has been that. It's a Mandela effect. This is one of the biggest residuals of all time. And there actually might be some people listening to this that will actually explain away a mistake in the printing. They made the mistake, but then they just kept printing it. You got the star's name wrong. His name's Columbu. You put Columbo. We did? Well, let's stop the presses. F it. It's fine. Nobody will, like that scene in Four Weddings and a Funeral where her thing flies off her dress. No one will notice. Forget it. No one will notice. They just kept printing the damn thing. Nobody will notice. It's the star of the movie. What? And this was taken in 2014. Disney. This thing's got a gold leg below the right knee, our left, his right knee. It's silver. Go watch the movies. It's silver. Somebody I know took this in about 2014. He said it was all gold. The Disney exhibit. Is anybody going to explain this away, that the Disney exhibit got it wrong? I mean, what? I mean, we do this shit all day long. The entire reality is a deep fake. If you're Mandela triggered, we'll move on to things that are more palatable for you. The entire reality is a deep fake. Maybe that's why the deep fake shit got so popular. They're saying, yeah, the whole reality is a deep fake. You have to read between the lines. When Trump starts talking about fake news, he's not objecting to fake news that he thinks is misrepresenting him on CNN. He's announcing to you, he's announcing to everybody that pretty much everything in the news now is 100% fake. It's an announcement through Trump in the actor base reality, as Chalk describes it. It's an announcement. He's not complaining about anything. The entire reality is a deep fake. That's probably why the name deep fake came out. This shit doesn't pop up out of the blue like deep fake. ground zero, grassy knoll. It's inserted and put into reality on purpose. So here we have a picture of the Mongolian steppe. This is what it looks like today. It's 800 million square miles with no trees growing because it's so inhospitable. When you see something that looks like this with no bushes and trees, oh, you know what that tells you? It's so effing cold that nothing can survive other than reindeer and grasses. It's grassland tundra. You have one Mongolian family living every 800 million square miles. It's that inhospitable. But they just got together under the leadership and guidance of Genghis Khan, and they took over the entire world. Yeah, right. You have impossible coordination. Every space agency around the world uses the chevron or the vector. And they just all use it. And in presenting, they're a deep fake. They use it in presenting their incredible coordination. This by itself tells you there's no such thing as countries. The whole reality is a deep fake. You have endless symbolism, not just this, and the gematria. I'm going to get off this because I don't know if it'd be a problem in the. Let's go back to this. We've all seen this. You know where I'm going. Endless symbolism, and not just with the stars. I mean, you go find some band, them 2-bit band you've never heard of, and the person on the front's doing some eye symbolism. A Comcast advertisement came in the mail a year ago, and some girl's covering her eye. It just comes over and over and over, and it's not always planned and people making phone calls. It flows through the reality itself like the gematria does. It tells you, well, what does that tell me, Matt? It tells you it ain't real. This place ain't very real. All right, well, and let's get to the important part soon. Let's move through this. All right. And you've all these little pissed on breadcrumbs that just come endlessly now. This is the astronaut Chris whatever. He gives, of all the places he could give a interview in March about whatever, the next space mission. It's from C, the beer name. It's from C, Canada. He's giving the interview. It says, it got cut off because I have to pull it into the slideshow. He's giving the interview about something not related to the pathogen, something else, but he's in CV Canada. Sure. This is what the reality does. It's a joke. Then there's the stuff John Levi follows, the endless impossible architecture, the endless shit that has no right being built in what's called this Gilded Age from 1860 to 1900, before the diesel engine, before electricity, the impossible architecture of the World's Fairs. Then you go all the way back. You just keep doing this from the World's Fairs in the United States and North America. Follow it all the way back to even the Roman Colosseum or things in between, like the Taj Mahal. Go sometime look at the Wikipedia entry for Taj Mahal. It is absurd. They literally talk about 25,000 artisans coming together to build the Taj Mahal under the direction of this person. 25,000 artisans in the middle of bum F India. We're back in 16 whatever. There's probably, again, one little village for every 400 million miles. Where'd they get 25,000 artisans from? Did they place ads on Craigslist? Where'd they get them from? Did somebody go Pony Express in all directions across India? Bring me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, cheap, broke-ass artisans. Come to this site so we can build the Taj Mahal. Where'd they come from? Oh, it's easy to say a Wikipedia article, 25,000 artisans. If you think it through for more than 5 seconds, well, that's where'd they come from? You have to get them from all over the world. 25. Obviously, Matt, not everybody was an artisan, Matt. Some people just laid brick in the right spot, but the domes are completely geometrically perfect. I mean, come on. Just look at the Taj Mahal by itself. It's impossible. I'm not going to say in this video what I think happened or it's a reality insert of some kind. I'm not taking any of that off the table either. I'm just asking you to notice for however you come to this conclusion that this ain't that real, this place. And the ramifications of that we can use if we come to that conclusion. We can disagree on how real it is. All right, just things like this. Hong Kong, 4 dead in 5 months. I mean, with this, people packed on top of each other for months and months, 7.5 million people. And when we talk to people around us, all they can say is the same scripted response. Well, Matt, they know how to handle these sorts of things in Asia, and they already were wearing a lot of masks, and they know how to handle it. It's the same script. Know how to handle it. What does that even mean? They know how to handle. Hong Kong has back alleys, crack dens. It has slums. It has wet markets. It has people packed on top of each other. Like Asia has subways where the subways are so packed. The conductor's got to push somebody's ass into it's so packed. He's pushing somebody's ass into the damn car so the doors close. This is the way they live over there, those poor devils. Don't tell me they know how to handle it. What does that even mean? Did they know how to handle it in the 4 weeks before the problem was identified with people packed on top of each other in subway cars? Why didn't it spread at least in the first 4 weeks before they knew what it was? Just people run just the fact that people can run the same scripts over and over and over again, and some sort of download is coming into the masses proves this world isn't very real. Why you're immune to it, and I don't know. Lucky we are. But this is the little device that Picard put Dr. Moriarty. Dr. Moriarty, the nemesis of Sherlock Holmes, became sentient in a computer program on the Enterprise, actually started to take over the Enterprise. And then they fooled him into thinking he's now living inside this virtual environment, this little mini supercomputer on the Star Trek Enterprise. Dr. Moriarty thinks he's won. They've put him in this simulation, and it's an endless universe inside the simulation. I mean, could our consciousness be experiencing something like that? Certainly. And it doesn't mean we were tricked. I'm not jumping to any conclusions here. Maybe we were. Maybe we're stuck here. Maybe it's a recycling trap. Maybe we chose to come here. And we entered through the door knowing this is an experience where you get screwed over. But in many metrics, it's a simulation of some kind that probably because of the continued hijacking of it is starting to break down. The minions have always served a role here, but it does seem like they've overstepped. And therefore, the nature of the simulation is, in many ways, is breaking down into the absurd. Would anybody disagree with that? Okay, who's here? Group 1. These look like real people, like me and you. Real people. There's a lot of real people here. How many? I don't know. We don't know. Group 1 is real people in terms of how the reality works. 144,000? I don't know. Billions? I don't know. Some people believe many are NPCs or organic portals. They have no soul stuff, no life stuff, no light inside them, no connection to a spiritual rainbow bridge that gets them out of here. That's not a Castro District reference. That's an Asgard or Thor or Odin type reference. You know, the old Norse, the rainbow bridge. Anyway, whatever, a connection out of here a real person has through a spiritual pathway. But some people believe that billions of people have that, but in most people it's been eroded or degraded down to a certain level where they no longer can access it. That's why they take the download of the reality. But nevertheless, we have a group of real people here. Then a separate group that's not the same as this. It is not the same as this at all. This is you and me here. Then you have Thulsa Doom. You have this. Didn't Kevin Costner try to take this guy to a baseball game? A different character. I don't know. Maybe it was him. The minions. They're not like one of these things is not like the other. Now, the minion level, who is it? Well, let's do a 30-second refresher. It's everybody on television. No matter what level you... Matt, the Queen's too high up to be minion level. No, it's minion level in my opinion. Presidents, prime ministers, politicians, George Soros, lower level minions in entertainment like Lady Gaga, George Clooney, governors, lower level politicians, rock superstars, people that are pushed to the top of their profession like Spike Lee. There are, I don't know, at this point, millions of minions because the levels of government all around the world have become so big, so behemoth. Millions of minions. And what is their role? What is their role? They have a role in this reality, a specific role. Their role, it's this simple, guys. And this is where you get in touch with spiritual self and you understand how simple this Bozo show is to figure out. All these minions running around getting our business all the time. More minions. All these people we know. Robert Frost wrote the Path Less Chosen or whatever, that two paths diverged in a perverted woods. I chose the one less chosen. And, was he in on it? No, but the system, of course, used him to deliver a message, to deliver truth. I chose the path less taken, less traveled, has made all the difference. Was F. Scott Fitzgerald in The Great Gatsby, was he in on it and delivering the message in the green light? No, probably not. Lower level minions don't know shit about shit, in my opinion. But there's somebody real cozy under the dragon's wing that says, Scott, let me change a little bit of your book, maybe, Mr. F. Scott. Why do they put their letter before the F. Scott Fitzgerald? Write your name or not. What does that even mean? F. Scott Fitzgerald. They like the 3 names. But put in the green light and we'll take your book, not just national, we'll make it one of the most famous books of all time. So most minions aren't in on it. Some of these guys get to a certain level where they are. But even like in the middle, Joseph Stalin, he's just a used Napoleon. They're just used puppets. They're being used by the master reality in ways that they don't even have any understanding. These people that are in these societies think they're so smart, whatever. I believe they are used as much as almost anybody to fulfill the wishes of the master overhanging not nilk reality, right? The purpose of this group is simple. It is to degrade this group spiritually. It's that simple. That's it. That's all you need to know. The tactics, the strategies. This group exists to serve the master reality's goal. And let's just get to degrade this group spiritually, to reduce them, to move them lower and into lower and lower forms of being, which is done primarily through cutting spiritual ties or any understanding these people have that they are more than this existence. Let's get into the different levels. We'll come back to this. Come, my child, jump off the... Come, my child, come. Splat. It's Conan. Endless minions at all levels through all time periods. This is, what's the... Wells? H.G. Wells? Yeah. H.G. Wells, I've shown this video before, gives this interview. It's supposed to be, the reporters just happened to find him on the ship, and they set it up to be a real interview, all 100% staged. He's just delivering the message of the reality as a mouthpiece for the reality itself. And this took place 6 years before World War II started. I'm not talking about Pearl Harbor, the breakout of World War II when the Nazis were invading Poland and the Czech Republic. So he says, roughly in 1934, he says, yes. He's talking to these reporters. Sir, are you still predicting war in Europe? And your books have predicted war in Europe for some time. Yes. War will certainly come to Europe in 1940. He says the date 6 years prior. War will come in 1940. There will be significant bloodshed. He's one of the most pompous ass individuals you ever see in your life. And you can take it out of him because he's an asshole puppet minion of the system. He didn't make a prediction on his own, passed a comfortable turd one morning and just decided that he had this premonition that war will come. He's announcing exactly the way the control structure will play out reality. They didn't have TV back then, so they used these types of useful idiots to deliver the message. H.G. Wells. He probably didn't dream up any of his concoctions that he put in his books. Just a puppet, a mouthpiece. Now, the only other level that exists is, Matt, well, who do the minions report to? I'm sorry to use such a scary picture that I grabbed from some video game somewhere. Hopefully this won't ban the video. But, okay, the minions. Matt, if like George Soros, for example, or a minion, a Rockefeller or a Rothschild, aren't they the end? No, there's something else, in my opinion. There's something else. The reality itself, it says, or stands behind the screen. The order giver of the system influencing the download that people take. So my best understanding is these people at the minion level here, they run around and their job is to influence this group of real people. But for the most part, these people are too stupid to pull it off on their own. You put Hillary Clinton in this mix, okay? This clown. They're clowns. So there's something else. It could be the reality itself. A Christian would certainly say Satan. If it's not Satan, it certainly plays the same role to degrade this thing, to have this thing choose the degradation to destroy itself. But the minion level, don't give too much stock or credibility to these morons. All right? They run around carrying out the wishes of something else that we'll just put a picture in here that represents it. We don't know what it is. We never will know what it is. Right? My favorite exercise of all time, the police lineup. Bring them all out. Enki, Enlil, Anunnaki, Archons, Nephilim, secret societies, ancient families, all these dark figures that are pulling the strings on our reality. We won't know. We would know by now. This woman's keeps pointing to somebody different. She said, well, I think it was this one, but I saw a YouTube video that now says it's this one. We'll never know, or we would know by now. We'll never know the police lineup. But you don't need to know. You just need to know that generally there's something that is giving the marching orders to these jerks. Okay, they get their marching orders from somewhere. And the coordination is perfect. Okay, if it was just regular men and women, the coordination, look what's happening now with the way that we're presenting the CV thing. Every country's basically following similar protocols, and it's too perfect. Even if it is just a download where these people are spiritual less beings, they have no light inside them, and they're being synced up to something, well, where's that frequency coming from? We'll just call it this, but it doesn't matter what it is, right? All that's matters is all the actions of these jerks is just to degrade these real people like you and me down below a certain point where they lose all connection to spiritual self. And at that point, the downloads probably start coming, the scripts start being recited, the covet of this world, giving themselves over to this world, forging and creating change to this world for themselves. Does it bring them right back into another lifetime? Maybe. Does it doom their spiritual self down the abyss? Maybe. Do they get more chances where we might move on, but they might have to keep doing it over and over? Maybe. It doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter, but once you understand what you have to do for yourself, you understand that you can do for yourself, and it isn't likely you can save everybody else around you because they don't listen to what we have to say. There's people like you that just understand instinctively, whatever. Understand what I'm saying. It just makes sense to you what I'm saying. But to everybody else listening to this, they think I'm just some nut that just escaped from the asylum. So be it. All right? So the master reality, the overhanging reality, I don't like to assign a term of standing or appear that I'm giving it credence in any way or that I approve of it by saying master, but again, I keep struggling with this. The overhanging reality presents a false reality onto real people, which I call the screen. The screen is, or the images of the screen are supported, whether it be this sort of screen, a digital age, or, if you want to picture it like this, an image comes up onto the screen. So everybody in those cars there, imagine, are real people. Comes up at first very blurry. It can't just impose itself into reality. The real people in those cars watching it have to breathe reality into it. The real consciousness in those cars, produced by that first group of real people, real consciousness, real beings of spirit, have to see the screen, and then they have to accept it into reality and project it back out. All right? They can't. That's the role of this group. This thing can't do it itself. It can't project the reality it wants directly into this reality. It needs the first group of people to do it. These people must look upon it, and the ideas that this thing puts forth come through the screen. Right? These people have to then look upon the screen and say, that's something I'd like to accept into my reality. And these people, like you, give it life. The purpose of these Thulsa Doom creatures is to run around and to get in your business and to make you believe it's what you should want. It's to make you believe that this government is the best we can do in a free society. It's to make you believe that this is the way this pathogen is being handled is the best anybody can do, and all these measures, it's all for you. McDonald's, we're doing it all for you. We just throw out the Constitution for you. Just throw out the Constitution for you. The minions run around at the behest, whatever, of this thing. Okay? All right. And the blurry image comes on the screen, and the more real people in those cars that watch it and accept it and bring it into their lives, then it becomes a permanent fixture in the reality itself. Right? So the entire screen presentation is a liar. This is one of my favorite pictures. It shows this right here is 7. It's so hilarious. 7 goes down perfectly. And these buildings here, one of which is the old Verizon building or the post office, untouched for the most part. This goes down. All this crap happens, unaffected. The one in the middle just goes to nothing. It's incredible. Anyway, the mindset of not noticing. This is me. The mindset of not noticing. My father took me to Phoenix in, I don't know, it was like 2005, 2006. I don't know. Oh, look at the chemtrails. We're just at a driving range here. But I can assure you, when I mean, obviously I've looked at this in the last 6-7 years and I'm like, look at those chemtrails. But I assure you, when I was driving those golf balls, not once did I look up and say, what is this? You know, it's the driest climate in the world, Phoenix. These clouds per the humidity level shouldn't even exist. It just didn't bother me. The mindset of not noticing. It's fascinating when I go back and try to put myself where I was, you could say mentally, during these times where those clouds didn't bother me one bit. It's all completely normal to me. Now, if somebody would have explained to me what it was, said, Matt, do you remember this as a kid? I would have said, no, I don't really remember this. I think I would have come around pretty quickly, unlike most people that would just have the propensity to explain it away, or even acts like a Mandela effect for most people. Well, they'd say that's always been that way. And it's possible it has always been this way. The reality itself acts like a massive Mandela effect with people's consciousness if they drop their spiritual self below a certain level. But the mindset of not noticing. I didn't notice any chemtrails there when I was hitting. I was out there for an hour hitting balls. Didn't think anything of it. Same with 9/11 in 2002, 3, 4, 5, 6. It completely made sense to me. Every bit of it. And it is fascinating to think of our mindsets. Most of us had those mindsets back then. But then it's not always people planning things, guys. I mean, this is supposedly a baseball game or something, 1918, that Spanish flu, but somebody came forth with this picture. Does anybody remember all these pictures of people in masks in 1918? Is it a retrocausality? We don't know. This isn't the best example of retrocausality. But when we go down these paths, once we determine a reality isn't very real, then anything is on the table. Then you allow yourself to bring any idea and concept onto the table and you'll consider it. Well, if this reality ain't real, it's not very real. Of course, it could show flat earthers all the proofs in the world at once, so they dig in, and it shows all the astronomy professors in the universities all the proofs they need, so they dig in, and it can show both groups conflicting information at the same time. You at least become open-minded to the fact that it can do whatever it wants if it's not that real, or those that know how to pull the buttons and levers on it can screw with it. They can do a lot of weird things. So nothing really is off the table. Retrocausality means, guys, a major event in the present, rippling back through time to cause changes, actual changes in the past. It is, for anybody Mandela affected, they would say, yeah, I see this every day. This isn't as crazy as it seems anymore, right? Why people realign themselves to the new reality. This goes along with the idea of the download. People are going along with what's happening now. Don't you see the destruction of the Constitution? Well, I hear you, but it's necessary. They just have a way to explain everything away. Well, why would you close playgrounds? Isn't it okay if just a mother and just they have distancing? Say one mother goes up there and uses the playground, another. Do you really have to bar it off? Do you see? But no, that's necessary. They'll defend it. They'll explain it away, no matter how draconian the measures are, how arbitrary, how unconstitutional. People just sort of take a download and run their scripts to explain it all away like it's completely normal. And there's no other way to explain it. It is like they're getting a download. We're immune to it, in my opinion, because we have a certain level of spiritual connections and we're rooted somewhere else. We don't go along for the log flume ride of reality. Reality puts everybody on a sick log flume ride, and they go over the edge, and all the water sprays and everything. And every time we go into the damn plastic log, it doesn't go anywhere. We're rooted. We're rooted to something else that made more sense. So none of these shit or these measures makes any sense to us. Everybody just gets in the damn log flume ride and goes over the edge. And as they have no spiritual connections, they've lost, their light has dimmed below a certain level. That's why I think they just go along with it and run their scripts. That's why I think we're immune to it. So, as usual, I've said this many times, the reality, especially in this time period, is a wet cement. And whether it be setting itself up for the next 20 years or setting itself up in wet cement until the next eclipse or till the next Saturn's Jupiter conjunction, because they do everything by the stars, this is a period of wet cement where they're just trying to get to a finish line, where if they can harden the cement, society then is put into a new, degraded, sick place where the once real human beings, or what's left of real human beings, have degraded themselves down even further, are operating at an even lower frequency, and then the cement sets up. And maybe a period will come again where the cement gets wet again, where people like you and me can better themselves, can have new understandings of what life is all about, of what this reality is all about. So the cement probably does get wet again at a certain point. But at this moment, it's wet. It's wet cement, and they're just itching to harden it up. And I think once it hardens, I think basically, at least for the foreseeable future, you have the opportunity to see certain things and understand certain things about your life. And you better, I'm not talking to you guys because you guys get it, but in terms of if I was talking to everybody else out there, you better understand this now, because once it sets up, well, the cement gets real hard, and you probably ain't going to figure much out once the cement gets hard. But people aren't figuring much out now, are they? So this from Chalk Body Outline. What is it called? The Neuralink, that fraud Elon Musk wants to put, the final thing where you chip the brain. And it's all a similar story where Ray Kurzweil will talk about chipping the brain. Now Elon Musk. It's something they've talked about now on and off for almost 10 years. And it never seems to come, but they keep floating it. The reason I put this out there is, okay, wet cement, and then people taking the download, and the destruction or the degradation of the human being. The ultimate level down is this: once you make a human being into like a cyborg, or even go further, where they talk about trying to upload consciousness, or to have you literally like merge with a machine or merge with a computer, or consciousness merging with a computer. Once they get you there, literally I don't think they can push a human being any farther down in this reality. It's hell. It's as low as it can go once people accept the fact that they agree to become a cyborg of some kind. And this is ultimately where they want to take it. Now, I've talked about this several times. They're not ready with this. They keep floating it over and over because they want real consciousness to approve it. They want real consciousness to believe it will be a good thing, that believe it will be a good idea, and then we will help manifest it. They can't just impose it. And all this running around of Ray Kurzweil, and now it'll be Elon Musk saying chip the brain and brain interface and all that. They don't have it ready. They want you as real consciousness to believe it's coming, and to believe it's great, and to believe all your fantasy stats will be available just by clicking your heels 3 times, and all your baseball stats can come right up, or fantasy football. Once you believe it and you want it, then you'll help them manifest it into reality. Well, we won't, but you know what I mean. Basically, the reality in 2 ways is the portrait of Dorian Gray. Now, it is the picture of Dorian Gray in this reality now. I assure you it was the portrait of Dorian Gray. The picture doesn't even make any sense. They didn't have photography back then. Anyway, I'm not gonna harp on this Mandela effect. 2 things happen. One is society. Now, anybody doesn't know the portrait of Dorian Gray. Dorian Gray on the right, good-looking guy, never ages, always fit. He has this portrait of himself. It keeps hidden, and it shows his true nature. It's just this ugly, rotting thing. And if he ever looks upon it, he becomes it. That's the end of his immortal self. He was also, I guess, the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen popped up in that. But they didn't call it, just called him Dorian, I guess. They didn't say picture or portrait in that. But this is a reflection of the individual, an individual's degradation, but it's also society itself. So outwardly, let's talk about the individual side first. Outwardly, the person on the right, not Dorian Gray, just somebody in the society, just got promoted to junior partner at the law firm, but, God made some bad choices in life and just running around on the wife and constantly just selling out for materialism and had to screw over a few other business partners to get where he is. And see, on the right, he looks great. He looks great. If he took his shirt off on the beach or whatever, he'd probably have a six-pack and it would be pretty impressive. I mean, you'd want to touch it. But who he really is spiritually is reflected on the left. That's the state of this poor devil, is on the left. Okay, that's individually what people are struggling with. We might have been that thing on the left, but we're making changes in our lives to become the pure thing on the right, or what that thing on the right represents. This is also society itself. Society, not now, but up until now, has been, this wonderful reflection of the best a modern society can do, and modern conveniences, but really what it is just a rotting corpse, society itself. It's really the thing on the left. And it reflects itself back into the thing on the left because into what's important. Society can't produce any beautiful art anymore. It can't produce any beautiful architecture anymore. Can't produce any beautiful literature or things that really raise up the soul or the spirit, music, even movies. They're doing the same Marvel comic book thing over and over again. The reflection of society back is sick. It's the sick creature in Dorian Gray. So this can represent the individual's decline, also the societal decline at the same time. Is that the reason it was written? Maybe. That's how the reality does business, but in this case, I don't know. So it really is, the truth of the reality is revealed through thousands of different forms of media. The precious.
We wants it. We needs it. The precious.
If you remember, I didn't show the picture. If you remember the movie, this Schmeagol Gollum thing was like a real hobbit. It was like a regular person. But he found the precious. He found the love of the materialism, and it ruined him. It degraded him down to a level. The big message here is down to a level where there's no coming back. Nobody would say, yeah, we could rehabilitate him. He's not rehabilitatable. He's gone. He destroyed himself. It wasn't, he didn't have to covet the precious. The precious didn't fly up on his finger. He was a real Gollum. No, he was a real hobbit. He became Gollum and Schmeagol. It's the reverse of these stories. What was it? Geppetto makes the Pinocchio, right? Becomes a real boy, emerges. This is the opposite. This is a reverse Pinocchio. It's a reverse placebo, nocebo Pinocchio. He was a real boy, and he degraded himself back through the love of the precious, the materialism of this realm. Of course, the movie represents the eye of Sauron, the one eye. It's so obvious, the symbolism, the truth giveaways, the truth drops. So obvious. So the point is just, guys, the truth of this reality is revealed in thousands of different forms of media. We just have to start, people around us would be nice if they start noticing it, as we have been noticing it. And is this the last slide? No. I always like to go back to the Vitruvian Man. This is something that worked for me in my analogies or way of thinking. I don't think this relates to any reason why Da Vinci did this. Maybe, I don't know, but it just worked for me. Meaning a man, in this case, man or woman, with the arms outstretched, some would say like, Christ on the cross, of course, but we're pulled in two different directions. The one direction we are pulled is of the material realm, of the precious, of coveting it, of McDonald's loving it, of creating ties with it, of finding stature and applause through everything that can be accomplished in this realm. One level, one arm leads to this. It seems to be very unfair, this tug of war, pulling the Vitruvian Man apart. Because you have the seven deadly sins, the temptations, the constant screen surrounding person, just pulling on that side, Come with me. Come seek the precious. The precious could be any of the 7 deadly sins. It doesn't mean it's just a gem or riches. There's so many ways this reality provides to degrade oneself or reduce oneself down to a certain level where they have no connection to spiritual self anymore. They're just gone, down to the very lowest of the low. But the other side, if this is a tug of war, is spiritual self. And you know what? The best way I like to think of it is there really is nothing pulling on that side. But that side can pull 1,000,000 times harder than the other side, because all you have to do is make the decision to go that way, to pull that side yourself. And even though it seems like the other side's pulling with everything they have, all the covets and the 7 deadly sins, the material realm, and all the endless ways this place is stacked against us, who could overcome all these pulls? Well, you just have to. You can just decide to overcome them, and that pull on the other side that leads back to spiritual self is 1,000,000 times stronger. You just have to decide to do it. It's that simple. How many people? Most people will end up here. They won't decide to do it in any way, and just worry about their 401k, and worry about making financial moves, and just have no sense of spiritual self. No sense of spiritual self. It's that simple. Just say this. Yeah, it looks daunting. Who's pulling this arm over here? But you have to realize, I just decide for myself to pull the other side, to connect to the other side, and everybody on the other side of the tug of war just falls over. It's that simple. It really is. This is the last slide. When things, we've talked about many times, when things are so big in our reality, like aptly here, row, row, row your boat, when something is carried through time, it is a truth drop. It's there for a reason. It's there so real spirits notice it. Life is but a dream. The terms we've talked about, grassy knoll, ground zero. When something, we're right now looking at the spiritual declaration of non-dependence. I hope to be done tomorrow. If not, it'll be Friday. Things are this big. It's just the way I'm seeing things right now. There's a reason for it. And I thought maybe Titanic itself. The story of Titanic is so big. There's nobody on Earth that doesn't know the story of the Titanic, for the most part. Because you could find some bush people somewhere in some back part of wherever. Okay. But you know what I mean. I'm not talking to go interview the bush people. Everybody knows Titanic. Why is it so big? Think about it, guys. It's just, you just naturally assume it's so big because it's so big. It is what it is. No, it's just a ship that sank. Think about it. Name one other ship that ever sank. Can you? Most people can't. Can you name 2? Why is this so big? It shouldn't be this big. See what I mean? If you really think about it like that. Oh, there's some rich people on board, but it's there's books and movies, and it's referenced all the time, and this and that. If you really think about it honestly, it shouldn't be known by everybody on Earth. It shouldn't be that big. Biggest movie ever. But why? Just because that they took down 3 people that were going to oppose the Fed at Jekyll Island, Guggenheim, Strauss, and Astor. They were going to oppose the Fed, they just sunk it to get the insurance money. It was really the Olympic and all these conspiracies associated with it. I'm thinking recently, when something is this big, there's a reason for it, a truth drop reason for it, a Declaration of Independence type reason for it. And, is it as simple as Titanic's going down? This is reality itself. This is society itself. And the minions in Thulsa Doom, I'm going to say, jump. Come, my child, jump. Reality's going down. Can you get off the Titanic in time? Can you get off the Titanic? You're going to jump ship. That's what we're doing through things like the spiritual declaration of non-dependence. Jump ship on reality. Get off before it sinks. Keep your head above water. If you go down with it, you get below water, cuts off spiritual ties, then you accept the download, have no way out of here upon death. I think there's much more to the Titanic story than I was going to say what we're led to believe. We know it's not what they tell us. I mean, for crying out loud, it's never what they tell us. It's not just, this is sinking. There were some rich people on board, so it became the biggest story of all time. I mean, I spent too much time on the first grade conspiracies associated with Titanic. Oh, it really looks like it was the insurance money. I fell into that trap. I present those angles in the book. It's very interesting because this, you can find out and do some research that they pretty much did probably swap the signs and send out the piece of shit Olympic to go. So the Olympic had been hit, was damaged. It was the twin ship of Titanic. But the whole Olympic story proves the Titanic story can't be real, because there can't be this story about the greatest and grandest ship of all time if it had a sister ship that had been sailing 6 months prior that was the same exact thing. How's the Titanic the grandest ship in all the world when it has a sister ship that's been sailing for 6 months that's the same exact thing? So, but still, I have to remember what I said a year and a half ago. Everything's a triple level conspiracy. Everything of this nature that's this big. You got to go at least 3 levels. It's like Inception, a dream within a dream within a dream. You got to go at least 3 levels down. It makes more sense that, they wanted to knock off the 3 billionaires that were going to oppose the Federal Reserve. And I proposed a while back that they showed you that scene, and they knocked off, Astor sunk with a ship, and Guggenheim and Strauss, and these were people, unlike J.P. Morgan, were going to oppose the creation of the Federal Reserve. Guys, I'll say right now, this is still a second level conspiracy. It's still second grade stuff, and and it's not going far enough. That was still a waste of time, me spending time on that. But even when I proposed, and this is closer to the truth, that scene in the movie where Jack is, handcuffed to the pipe and the damn ship is going under. He sees through the porthole. The porthole window is under the water, and Rose is running around trying to get the axe. And, she happens, of course, to cut his chains. And I was like, way back when, I'm like, they're showing you what they did to Guggenheim, Strauss, and Astor. The guy with the gun took him down, chained him up. They're showing you in Cameron's movie what they did to those 3. Potentially. And that could be. There again, it doesn't have to be all or one, but the more I think about it, it's just too simple. It's too simple. I'm more interested now in looking at these things like, okay, if something's going to be one of the biggest stories of all time, what's the truth that the reality is offering to deliver to people that are willing to pay attention? And I'm much more interested in looking at things like a metaphor or an analogy for the reality itself, where you have to get off in time before it sucks your soul down to the abyss. That's more, if it was just about killing 3 billionaires, well, maybe, but the more I understand how things work here, I doubt it. It sounds like second grade conspiracy to me, even though when I came to certain conclusions or did certain research for the book 3 years ago, I was like, ooh, I'm really on to something. Well, we know a lot more now than we did even 3 years ago. We know more now than we did 5 months ago with the CV thing. If it's going to bite off this big of a shit bite of its shit sandwich, it has to give. So theories I had even 3 years ago related to things like this, I'm not going to remove those sections from the book. It's still a cataloging of the conspiracy, but I certainly can look back at it now and say, okay, I didn't go far enough. There's a whole lot more going on here, and we're going to gather up as much information as we can while the cement is wet. But never forget, when you watch these truth channels, they don't talk about this stuff. They'll just analyze the screen. This person's trying to screw you. That person's trying to screw you. We know it's all trying to screw us. The whole reality is a Titanic that's trying to sink itself with you on it. We know that. So it's fine to look at the screen, but don't forget there's only one purpose to everything we do. This is you. And this bastard wants to take whatever you have, whatever you can see the spirit in them, the soul stuff, the light. These bastards want to take it, and for them to take it, you need to do it for the most part to yourself. That's why I don't think anybody's gonna come into my house and throw me down on the ground and force vax me or whatever. The decisions of that magnitude that damn the soul need to be done. People have to choose that route for themselves. Thanks for listening.